Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this orientation and grant management webinar for new Second Chance Act grantees. My name is Leah Kane, and I am a policy analyst with the Council of State Governments Justice Center. Before we begin today's webinar, I want to let you know about a few features of today's webinar. First of all, today's webinar will focus specifically on grant management requirements for those grantees who received awards from the Bureau of Justice Assistance. If you received your award from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, you're welcome to listen to today's webinar, but keep in mind that your grant management requirements are slightly different. If you email us after today's webinar, we'll send you links to the relevant materials for your grant program. If you encounter technical or audio problems during this webinar, WebEx technical support is available at 866-229-3239, and we'll put that number up in the chat box in just a minute. Unfortunately, there are some technical issues that we may not be able to resolve in time for you to participate in today's webinar, but for that reason, we are recording the event and will be posting the recording on our website as soon as possible. We will notify all of you by email when the recording is available. The purpose of today's webinar is twofold. We will spend most of our time this afternoon hearing from staff in the BJA Programs Office about the federal grant management process and your obligations as a federal grantee. During that time, you'll hear from BJA state policy advisors, each of whom work one-on-one with specific grantees to monitor your progress and ensure compliance with federal requirements. The secondary purpose of today's webinar is to help familiarize you with the resources that are available to help you make the most of your project, in addition to the support you will receive from BJA. So we'll spend some time this afternoon introducing you to the CSG Justice Center, which is the home of the National Reentry Resource Center, and the role we play as technical assistance provider to the Second Chance Act grantees. But we'll start today by hearing from Dr. Gary Dennis from the BJA Policy Office. As the Senior Policy Advisor for Corrections, Dr. Dennis oversees all of the Second Chance Act grant programs on behalf of BJA. Dr. Dennis?
Thank you very much, Leah. The thing I want to do is to display all of the grantees. It certainly is a nod to your expertise that you were able to craft a grant application that was successful in being awarded funds. Most of you know that the Second Chance Act grant programs are very, very competitive, so you're to be congratulated. Second Chance Act is now year funding, have funded over 400 different grant projects to the tune of in excess of $300 million. And Congress is very supportive still has strong bipartisan support of our reentry efforts. They are now, of course, asking us what do we have to show for the involvement. So there is a significant amount of pressure on all of our grantees and on the Bureau of Justice Assistance to begin to show some results. We think that we're having a significant impact on reducing recidivism across the country and certainly helping folks to more effectively overcome the barriers to reentry. So, again, congratulations on being part of our new cohort of Second Chance grantees. You'll be hearing more later on from the National Reentry Resource Center about our Second Chance conference that we're hoping to have sometime in May. So hopefully we'll have a chance to meet personally with all of those of you who are involved in the grantees and get to know you a little bit better. We have a lot of expertise on the call today, as Leah mentioned. We have Anya Dobrzansky, Brenda Worthington, and Michael Botner, who are the three program persons that work with me and help manage the day-to-day activities of your grant. So with that, let me just say congratulations again, and I hope this turns out to be an informative and productive webinar for you. Leah?
Great, thanks, Gary. Next, for an introduction to the CSG Justice Center and the National Reentry Resource Center, I'm going to turn to my boss, David Demora, the Director of the National Initiatives Division here at the CSG Justice Center.
Thanks, Leah, and welcome to everybody. As Leah mentioned, my name is David Demora, and I'm the Director of the National Initiatives Division of the Council of State Governments Justice Center. And the National Initiatives Division has within it all of our reentry work. The Justice Center is part of the Council of State Governments, which is the nation's only organization that serves all three branches of state government, the executive, legislative, and judicial. And we've been doing this since 1933. CSG has helped foster the exchange of insights and ideas to help state officials shape public policy for many, many decades now. Now, on behalf of the Council of State Governments, the CSG Justice Center works with policymakers at the local, state, and federal levels looking to improve criminal justice systems. The Justice Center provides practical, nonpartisan advice and consensus-driven strategies, which are informed by the available evidence to help increase public safety and to strengthen communities. You may have heard of some of our other Justice Center projects. For example, the Criminal Justice Mental Health Consensus Project helps state, local, and federal policymakers and criminal justice and mental health professionals improve their response to people with mental illnesses who come into contact with the criminal justice system. In fact, the landmark Consensus Project report, which was written by Justice Center staff and representatives of leading criminal justice and mental health organizations, was released back in June 2002. Since then, the Justice Center staff has supported the implementation of practical and flexible criminal justice mental health strategies through a variety of types of on-site technical assistance, through dissemination of information about programs, research, policy developments in the field, and continued development of policy recommendations and educational presentations. Our Justice Reinvestment Project provides intensive technical assistance to select states to develop data-driven policies to reduce collection spending and to reinvest savings in strategies that can decrease crime and strengthen neighborhoods. And the Reentry Policy Council was established in 2001 to assist state government officials grappling with the increasing number of people that are re-imprisoned and jailed to return to the communities that they left behind. And in 2005, we published the report of the Reentry Policy Council, which provides bipartisan recommendations that policymakers can use to improve the likelihood that adults who are released from prison or jail will avoid crime and become productive and healthy members of families and communities. Since 2009, we have also been a home of the National Reentry Resource Center, which serves as the training and technical assistance provider for all Second Chance Act grantees. Now, on behalf of the CSC Justice Center, I would like to congratulate each and every one of you on your selection as a Second Chance Act grantee. My staff and I all look forward to working with each of you on this project. We'll be in touch with you in a variety of ways, regular contact through phone contact. In some instances, we will be able to utilize site visits and to send consultants to work with you. There are a variety of different ways that we will be involved, but you will be hearing routinely from all of our technical assistance staff as we help you reach the goals that you put out in your solicitation, or rather in your response to the solicitation. I'm going to turn it back now to Liam, who's going to tell you a bit more about the technical assistance that's available through the NRRC and carry you through the rest of the webinar. Liam?
Thanks, David. Just want to let folks know, if you're having any trouble hearing during the webinar, please let us know through the Q&A box. We've got a whole bunch of folks in a bunch of different locations, and so we're trying to make sure that the audio quality is good for everybody. As David mentioned, the National Reentry Resource Center has 4 main objectives. We provide a one-stop interactive source for current user-friendly reentry information. That is primarily our website, which I'll be running through very quickly just to give you an overview of the resources that are available. We work to identify, document, and promote evidence-based practices in the reentry field. We advance the reentry field through training, distance learning, and knowledge development, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And we deliver individualized, targeted technical assistance to the Second Chance Act grantees. As David mentioned, each grantee, each one of you has been assigned to a specific Reentry Resource Center staff person who will serve as your point of contact throughout your grant. The name and contact information for your contact person should have been provided in the introductory email that you received that provided information about today's webinar. If they haven't already, your individual contact person will reach out to you very soon to learn more about your project. However, beyond your individual point of contact, there are also many NRRC resources available to you through our website that might be helpful to you as you start to launch your projects. I'll spend just a few minutes today walking you through those sections of our website that you might find particularly helpful at this point. Hopefully you've at least seen our website at this point. We have a whole bunch of different special areas that might be helpful to you. First are our topics pages. We have topic pages dedicated to the 12 reentry topics that are listed on your screen here. Each topic page provides links to recent research and publications, as well as recent news clips about that subject. And the substance abuse topic page is shown here just as an example. We are also in the process of developing a series of FAQs that address key issues faced by reentry practitioners. Currently available on our website are FAQs on engaging families and communities in reentry, employment and education issues, health, mental health and substance use disorders, housing, juvenile justice, victims in reentry, and tribal reentry. And the health, mental health, and substance abuse FAQs are shown here as an example. You can get to any of these FAQs through the topic pages or through our main FAQ page, which is the link shown on your screen. We also regularly host webinars on a wide variety of topics related to reentry, as well as specialized webinars like this one on grant management and other issues that are relevant to you as grantees. All of our webinars are recorded, archived, and available on our website at the link that you see on your screen here. We are also in the process of building, to our knowledge, the largest online library of publications related to reentry. To date, we have 1,137 items in our library. You can narrow your search by subject, keyword, or state for any of those publications that are state-specific, and we're constantly adding to this library, which is one of the reasons we are going to encourage all of you to sign up for our newsletter in just a minute. In addition to developing a library that contains a whole lot of these documents, just about everything that's been published on the subject of reentry, we're also working with partners at the Urban Institute to identify research, rigorous research that's been conducted on reentry policies and practices, and put those together in the What Works in Reentry Clearinghouse. To date, we have posted information about research in 4 categories: brand name programs, employment, housing, and mental health, but we have a whole host of additional topics that will be added over the course of the next 12 months or so. We have quite a bit more information about the What Works in Reentry Clearinghouse available on our website, including a webinar that can help walk you through the criteria for the What Works in Reentry Clearinghouse and how you as a practitioner can use the information you find there. So we hope you'll go to our website and take a look at what we're putting together there. We also have a page specifically dedicated to connecting all of you to the information you may need as a Second Chance Act grantee. For instance, after today's webinar concludes, a recording of this webinar will be posted on the screen you see here, as well as some additional resource materials. Those will also be sent to you by email, but you can always find them on our website at a later date as well. You have hopefully all heard about the Federal Interagency Reentry Council, which Attorney General Holder first convened in January 2011. Since that first meeting in 2011, the Council has developed a series of mythbusters and fact sheets designed to clarify existing federal policies that affect formerly incarcerated individuals and their families. There are mythbusters on areas including public housing, access to federal benefits, parental rights, employer incentives, Medicaid suspension and termination, and many other topics. I believe there are 22 mythbusters currently listed on our website. The Reentry Resource Center provides the online home for the Reentry Council and for all of the materials they have developed, and we encourage you to take a look at them. Many grantees have found them very helpful in the past. We have also been working with our partners in the federal agencies to compile a map of federally funded reentry initiatives around the country. You can select either a particular state or a specific grant program to see a list of all the grantees currently active in a particular jurisdiction or program. We currently have information posted through the 2011 grantees. We'll have the 2012 grantees added to this map, hopefully early in the next calendar year. But in the meantime, you might find it interesting to take a look at the map and find out about other Second Chance Act grantees or other federal programs that have been funded near your location. Finally, as Gary mentioned, the NRRC has hosted 3 national conferences for Second Chance Act grantees since our first in 2010. First of all, you might find it interesting to take a look at what we've got available on our website. We videotape many of the most popular conference sessions, including many of the plenaries, and materials from all of the past conferences are currently available on our website at the links on your screen. Secondly, we want to let you know that pending BJA approval, the 2013 Second Chance Act Conference is very tentatively scheduled for May 20th through 22nd, 2013 in Washington, D.C. We hope you'll add the dates to your calendar and hold the dates so that you can attend the conference, but please be aware that the dates and location are not confirmed. Please do not make any travel or hotel reservations until you receive further instructions from us, and we'll communicate with you as soon as we have the dates and location confirmed and you can start making the travel plans. We are constantly adding new content and resources to our website, and we send out a monthly newsletter that provides information about the latest research, funding opportunities, distance learning events, and other news about reentry. What we typically do is add all of the points of contact, the contact information that we receive from BJA, to our newsletter list, and we'll do that very shortly. But for those of you who are participating in today's webinar who may not be the designated point of contact for your particular grant, we may not capture your contact information. And so we would invite all of you, and please let your friends and colleagues know as well, please go to our website and subscribe for our newsletter. It comes out on a monthly basis and provides a whole host of information that we think you'll find helpful. As I mentioned earlier, each and every one of you, each and every grantee has been assigned to a specific NRC staff person. They will reach out to you very soon, and you should already have their name and contact information. However, if you have any questions following today's webinar, or you don't have the contact information for your point of contact at the NRC, please don't hesitate to contact us through the toll-free number shown here or our email address. Thanks for taking the time for a very quick walkthrough of the resources we have available on our website. At this point, I am going to turn it over to our colleagues at BJA.
Thanks, Leah.
Anya?
Yes. Can you hear me?
You're good. Go ahead.
Thank you, Leah, very much for that introduction and overview. My name is Anya Dobrzańska, and I am a state policy advisor here at BJA, working with the state of New York and Second Chance Act grants. I will start the session with a basic overview of post-award instructions and reporting requirements. On behalf of BJA, I would like to thank you for participating in the session today. The key to your success will depend on event planning and proactive approach to grant management. Please take advantage of all the tools we have for you, including this webinar today. I recommend that you print the slides, highlight key information, know all the deadlines, and be prepared for crisis management. Any questions that you may have regarding grants management, you should find answers during these slides and in the OJP Financial Guide. Additional information will be found in the FAQ document on the NRC website. Please keep in mind that we all have several hundred of grantees to manage, so you should really take a proactive approach to the grants management and take advantage of all the resources. We appreciate your patience when responding to your inquiries and calls. Those resources, keep in mind, should always be your primary source for information. Please move to the next slide. As I mentioned earlier, this session will cover basic elements of effective grants management. For some of you, this may be a refresher. I know that GMS may be intimidating at first and somewhat frustrating. I encourage all of you to take some time to log into GMS and explore the site. The more time you spend with it, the easier it will become. When pressed for time to submit reports, if you are familiar with these sites, the submission of reports will be easier. For help with the navigation through GMS, you may contact GMS Help Desk. They see what you see in GMS and will be able to walk you through the system. The next slide will cover award acceptance. Once you have been approved for an award, you will be notified through an email. Most of you completed this step already, so this will be a good reminder for any future reference. Make sure that the contact information in GMS and on your application form is correct, because it will be the primary contact and way for us to contact you. We cannot make those changes for you. Any changes to contact information should be requested through again in GMS. Once you are notified of the award, you will be instructed to register a financial point of contact, an SPOC. I suggest that you select someone reliable with experience and knowledge in accounting. Oftentimes, the budgets come to us with miscalculations, so please check all your computations before you submit any financial documents to us. It may be helpful to have another person check all the calculations for accuracy. Otherwise, the documents will be returned to you for corrections. This, of course, will delay any process and any approval. As you go to the next slide, you will see a copy of an awards document. When you review your award letter, make sure that all the information is correct. The designated authorized official must sign the letter. Please do not make any changes to the letter because it will be rejected. Keep the original document on file, and I also recommend that you scan it and keep a file electronically. Any changes to the authorized official will require you to submit again also known as a grant adjustment notice, in GMS, and attach a letter on organizational letterhead indicating the change. The authorized representative should be a person who has the authority to enter into a contract with the government and cannot be the same as the point of contact, also known as POC. The POC will be the primary contact in GMS and will be responsible for all grant management duties, to include submission of reports. As you go into the next slide, you will see special conditions. A signed award letter is a legal binding contract between OGP and the grantee. When you accept the award, you become responsible for all elements of grants management. You must review the special conditions on your award to make sure that you are in compliance. When you are ready to close out the grant, you will be asked to verify that you have been in compliance with all special conditions and all grant requirements were met. Through the life of the grant, we will review and monitor your progress to make sure that you are in compliance. Some of you may be selected for a site visit or enhanced programmatic desk review, and we will conduct detailed review to assess your compliance. Non-compliance will have implications such as withholding of funds and may affect your future funding. As you move to the next slide, you will see a document of special conditions. This is a sample copy of special conditions document. Once you review the document, you will need to initial each page on the bottom right-hand corner and submit it with the signed award letter. I recommend that you also scan it with the award letter and keep it electronically on file. As you move to the next slide, you will see examples of special conditions. Some special conditions are standard and others are program specific. One example of a standard condition is a requirement to comply with the OGP financial guide. Once you accept the award, make sure that you have access to the guide and take the time to explore it. Know which costs are allowable and exercise caution. Please make sure that all your expenses are reasonable, allowable, and necessary to the grant and approved in the budget. You should have a system of checks and balances in place to make certain that all financial activity is in accordance with the financial guide. Some grantees choose to use the language from the special conditions document and the financial guide to share with their sub-grantees to monitor for compliance. Also, please check our website periodically for important updates to the program and the financial guide. The next slide will cover Second Chance Act reporting requirements. When you accept the award, you agree to comply with all reporting requirements. Here, advanced planning will be essential. Know what to report, how, where, and when. Know the deadlines and all the links for reporting. Most of you at this time are required to submit reports in a PMT database. You will submit the data in PMT module on a quarterly basis, download the report, and upload it a PDF file in GMS. Make sure that your team is prepared to submit reports should the person responsible for reporting was on extended leave or decides to quit. If you forget your username and password, you will need to contact the help desk. When you are overdue with the report, you create an audit trail of delinquent reporting. In addition, we automatically freeze your funds. When we review your progress, we will review your history of delinquent reporting, so please make sure that you're always on top of all the reporting requirements and submit the reports on time. If there's a problem with your report, such as a missing PMT file, incorrect attachment, incomplete data, or insufficient amount of information in GMS, we will send back the report in GMS to you. Once you submit your report, you are responsible to check GMS periodically to make sure that the report is approved and that it was not sent back to you for corrections. All GMS notifications are sent automatically to the POC as selected in GMS, so if you have any changes to the contact information, please stay on top of it and submit again for a change to the contact information as needed. Sometimes emails can go to the junk or spam folder, so please make sure once you submit a report or again in GMS, you go into the GMS and check the status to make sure that it was either approved or it was sent back for corrections. And in that instance, please respond immediately by resubmitting the corrected report or grant adjustment notice. The next slide will cover financial status reports. Financial status reports must be submitted in GMS by your SPOC on a quarterly basis. Please make sure to keep internal staff informed and in sync because your expenditures should reflect your pattern of drawdowns and progress. For revisions to submitted reports, assistance with reporting, and access to funds, please contact OCFO Customer Service. Please keep all documentation of expenditures, such as receipt and vouchers, on file. You should have a solid accounting system in place and track all Second Chance Act program-specific activities separate from others. This may be done through appropriate coding. All activity under the grant needs to be tracked and properly documented. If you have sub-grantees, make sure that what they do is actually what they said they will do and properly reported. All expenses must be accounted for. Timesheets and activity logs must be signed by the supervisor and reviewed for accuracy. You need to maintain them on file, and I suggest that you scan all the receipts, vouchers, and timesheets and keep them on electronic file. The next slide will cover TMZ reporting requirements. Most of you are required to submit TMZ reports. For those of you who are not, we will send you an email notifying you if you would be. The TMZ reports are due quarterly. You will download and upload the TMZ reports into GMS when GMS reports are due. Please make sure you attach correct TMZ file in GMS. Sometimes we see attachments with incorrect files, such as folks' resumes or vouchers. Please know that we do open the reports and check if data is correct and the reporting period is correct. Please have a solid data collection system in place. Correct data is essential for us to make sure that the impact of recidivism is taking place. The numbers you report do matter, and if you need assistance understanding the questions or reporting the data in a PMT, you should contact the PMT help desk. If you need to correct the data in PMT, please contact PMT help desk, and they can reopen your PMT report. The next slide will cover GMS reports. Progress report is the primary vehicle through which your activities and outcomes are documented. It is a record of progress towards meeting your objectives, so please take all reporting seriously. Keep track of your username and password and know the deadlines. When you submit your reports, check the status in GMS to see if your report was approved or sent back to you for corrections. GMS will automatically send emails to the POC in GMS. Once you complete all program activities, submit your final progress reports in GMS. The next slide will cover FATA reporting. The Federal Funding Accountability and Transparency Act requires information on federal awards be made available to the public through a single searchable data website. Effective October 1st, 2010, prime recipients of awards $25,000 or more report on any first-year subawards of $25,000 or more. This means that if your agency received more than $25,000 and you plan to subaward more than $25,000, then you will have to report those subawards in SSRS. SSRS is a subaward reporting system used to capture and report subaward and executive compensation data regarding the first-year subawards to meet the FATA reporting requirements. You are required to file a subaward report by the end of the month following the month in which the prime contractor awards any subcontract greater than $25,000. Once a report is submitted, no other reports are required for the subaward unless there are modifications to that subaward during its life cycle. For more information on FATA, including detailed instructions and reporting requirements, please go to ssrs.gov/resources. In addition, for more information regarding federal reporting, you may go to ssd.gov. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Brenda Worthington.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brenda Worthington, and I am a BJA State Policy Advisor for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and also for the Second Chance Act. I'll go ahead and start with the accessing funds slide. Funds are accessed through our online grant payment request system, and the URL should be on your slide to be able to to go to the GPRS system. Only the financial point of contact can register for the system and request payment. Please do not register any subrecipients for the system drawdown. Next slide, please. Payment requests can be submitted at any time, but it must be noted that if you have any type of withholding on your award, you will not be able to access funds. The most common type of withholding is for delinquent reports, and that's for financial status reports and programmatic progress reports. As soon as you submit the delinquent report, GMS will automatically generate a grant adjustment notice to release the withholding. It also must be noted that the average turnaround time for a payment request to be deposited is 2 to 3 business days, and you should only be requesting funds that are immediately needed or needed within the next 10 days. If you request funds and receive funds and they are not used within the 10-day period, you must send a check back to OJT for those funds. And also, OJT does not process payments during the last 4 days of the business month, so please be sure to make all payment requests before that date. The online user guide for GPRS is very informative and contains very detailed screenshots, and that can also be found on this page. If you need assistance with accessing GPRS or drawing down funds, please contact our OCFO Customer Service Center, which is also on this page. Next slide, please. With regard to financial information, the first special condition on each of your awards is to comply with the OJT financial guide. As Anya stated, please make sure that you bookmark this guide and keep it as a reference and explore the guide. And just a reminder, in order to be allowable under federal awards, costs must be reasonable, allocable, and necessary to the project, and the cost must comply with the funding statutory requirements. To determine whether costs are allowable, you should also reference your particular cost principles, which vary by the type of organization. For example, nonprofit organizations will use Title II CFR Part 230. Next slide, please. With regard to unallowable costs, the OJT guide lists very specific non-allowable costs. For example, land acquisition, lobbying activities, fundraising, compensation and travel for federal employees, any consultant fee above $450 a day without prior approval, bonuses or commissions, military-type equipment, corporate formations, costs incurred outside of the project period, food and beverage, and other unallowable costs. Some examples of other unallowable costs include fines and penalties, passport charges, and premium tax. Next slide, please. In addition to the costs listed in the OJT financial guide, specific to this program, you may not use funds for prizes, rewards, entertainment, trinkets, or any type of monetary incentive. And also for client stipends, gift cards, vehicles, and again, food and beverage. Next slide, please. We understand that throughout the course of your award, you may need to make changes, and as Ani stated, 4 changes are made through the GMS system through a grant adjustment notice, or GAN. Once OJT makes a decision on your GAN, whether we need more information or if it's approved, you will receive an email notification. Different types of GANs go through different levels of approval here in OJT, so please be patient. Some GANs even go through 5 levels of approval. So please allow up to 30 days from start to finish for this process. And also, GANs will not be approved if you are delinquent on programmatic or financial reporting. So, as you can probably tell throughout this presentation, the reporting is extremely important. Next slide, please. The first type of GAN we'll speak about here is the project period extension GAN. Timing is extremely important for this GAN. Though the slide says that it must be requested no later than 45 days before the current end date, the absolute deadline is 30 days. GMS won't even allow you to submit the GAN after 30 days, so please make sure that you plan ahead. The GAN may not be for more than 12 months past the original end date, unless there are extraordinary circumstances. And when you submit the GAN request, please make sure you include the amount of time needed, why the extension is necessary, why the project activities can't be completed within the original project period, What you tend to do with the extended time, and make sure you attach a revised project timeline, and also the most recent unobligated balance. Next slide, please. For a project scope GAN, this is for changes within your program, such as your project site, your target population, or changes to subcontract activities. Please make sure that you're very clear and concise when submitting project scope GANs, and when necessary, you may need to attach a revised program narrative to coincide with the change that you're requesting. Next slide, please. Budget modification GANs are required for certain changes to your grant budget. For example, if your budget adjustment affects a cost category that was not included in the original budget. So if you did not have funds in your budget for supplies and you wish to move funds to supplies, you have to submit a budget modification no matter what the amount is. Any changes in or out of the indirect cost category, whether it's $1 or $100, must be submitted via GAN. And also, if the 10% rule is exceeded, to explain the 10% rule, you may move funds between approved budget categories up to 10%. However, if the funds exceed 10%, you must submit a GAN. You must note that processing a GAN for a budget modification is just like approving your original grant budget. So you must attach a full, complete revised budget and budget narrative. And that also includes any match budgets that you may be required through the program. For more information on budget modifications, please see the OJT Financial Guide chapter listed below. And lastly, on the budget modification GAN, you'll see 3 columns. Please make sure that the last column of the GAN, which is your requested change, matches the budget that you're submitting. That's one of the most common reasons for a send-back on the budget. Next slide, please. The last specific GAN I will discuss today is the sole source approval GAN. For all contracts, you are required to conduct procurement in an open, free, and fair competition. A sole source may be used when you can document that the item is only available from a single source, a true public emergency exists, or after competitive solicitation, competition is considered inadequate. For example, that if you put an item out for bid and only one response is received, that would still be considered a sole source. For sole source procurements in excess of $100,000, a grant adjustment notice must be submitted to obtain prior approval. A document addressing each of the items on page 23 of the DOJ Procurement Guide must be attached, explaining why prior approval should be granted. And it must also be noted that approval of a grant award with a specific partner organization name does not indicate approval of a sole source contract. You must still go through the sole source approval process. We've been working on these projects for several years now, and we've received many sole source requests for items that we know are available throughout the reentry community. For example, mentoring services. We shouldn't be seeing any sole source requests for mentoring services. We receive hundreds of applications each year for such services. So that's just an example of things that really wouldn't be an acceptable sole source. And with that, I will go ahead and turn this over to my colleague, Michael Boatner.
Thank you, Brenda. My name is Michael Boatner. I'm the BJA State Policy Advisor for the state of New Jersey and also the Second Chance Act Mentoring Program. The first slide I'm going to go over today is on BJA compliance monitoring. Over the life of your award, we will be reviewing all grant recipients to ensure that they are doing what was proposed and what was approved in their applications, that they are meeting the programmatic, administrative, and fiscal requirements, that we will also identify and resolve problems or issues as we see them, and also we will provide training and guidance as needed. There are several ways for us to accomplish this. There's an informal way of just basic emails and phone communication and reviewing your reports that you submit via GMS, the TMZ, and also your financial reports. We also conduct desk reviews here at BJA. These are a comprehensive review of all materials contained in your grant file. But the most intensive monitoring that we conduct is through enhanced programmatic desk reviews. They're also called EPDRs, and on-site visits. These allow for us to follow up on any issues that we identify last task that you'll have to do is to close out your grant. There are two types of grant closeout. There's the standard closeout, which everyone subscribed to achieve, and that is a closeout that is submitted within 90 calendar days after the grant end date. This closeout means that your grant has met all administrative, programmatic, and financial requirements, and you also need to note that all expenses must be obligated before the last day of the project. The second type of closeout is an administrative closeout. These are closeouts that are issued on the 91st day after the grant end date. This means GMS will automatically freeze your funds and submit a closeout for you, despite whether or not you've submitted your final reports or complied with your special conditions. Normally with this, we can work with you to make sure the reports are submitted and also get you in compliance with your special conditions. However, these are also submitted when the grantee is unwilling or non-compliant, and we can push these through without having the reports done, and which means that you might have to take funds back to OJP. Also, please note that you don't have to wait till the end date of your award to submit or to start the closeout process. If your project has been completed and your all funds are expended, please initiate the closeout as soon as possible. Next slide, please. GMS will automatically notify you 60 days prior to the end of the grant end date, on the date the grant ends, and also 30 days after the end of the grant. These notifications are sent to the point of contact, the financial point of contact, and the authorizing official listed in GMS. So it's very important to make sure that your contact information is up to date. Next slide, please. Closeout consists of 5 components. The first component is the final progress report. The second is the final financial status report. The third is the special condition compliance, which just means that you've complied with all special conditions listed on your award. The fourth is the financial reconciliation. This is a link within the closeout module of GMS that displays a comparison between the final financial report and your actual drawdown. And the fifth is the programmatic requirement certification. This is another link in the closeout module of GMS that lists some of the most common deliverables required. However, these deliverables vary from program to program, so please check with your state policy advisor on what your final deliverables are. Next slide, please. These last few remaining slides are additional information, good points of contact to have handy. The first is the BJA main phone line, and you can call this number listed to get a hold of your state policy advisor, or if you just have a general question about BJA. Also, the most important and also the easiest to access is the BJA website. This website lists all of our information about grants management and also future funding opportunities. You can also see a link to the state policy advisors. In that link, you'll find the contact information for myself, Brenda, and Anya, and you can find where our contact information is also listed on your award documents as well. The FAQs about BJA funding is also very useful, and I recommend taking a look at that website. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, the OCFO Customer Service Center. This is a handy number to have when you're dealing with your financial reports, the GPRS system, or indirect cost rates. They will be able to assist you better than we can on those matters. There's a link for the TMC. This is the reporting that you'll be doing on a quarterly basis. And also the TMC help desk. Please keep this number handy, as it is very useful to have, especially when you have questions on any of the reporting requirements. Next slide, please. Also, other important links, and these are several links that I highly recommend you look at, and specifically the OJP Financial Guide, as I believe Brenda mentioned earlier, is what you need to really review before you start any work on your grant. This outlines what's allowable, not allowable, and also all the functions that you need to be complying with during the course of your grant. Also, there's the OJP Standard Forms and Instructions link. If you have any missing documentation from your grant application, this is where you can go find the forms that are needed. These forms range from an indirect cost rate agreement, lobbying disclosure, the accounting system and financial capability questionnaire, and also the standard assurances. With that concludes the programs office portion of I'm going to hand it back over to Leah.
Great, thank you all. We have received a few questions about grant management things throughout the course of the webinar. Can you folks talk about how you'd like grantees be reaching out to you individually with those questions?
Sure. You can reach us directly via phone or email. You will have your specific grant manager on your award document. However, Anya, she manages the Second Chance Act grants in states N through Z. And I'm Brenda, I manage the Second Chance grants in states A through M. And Michael Boatner manages all of the mentoring grants. However, I would like to also add, this is Anya, that all the grantees should at this point go through the resources we provided them with, and they should find any questions, answers to any questions that they may have in those resources. Once the grantees go through the resources and you still have questions, then we suggest that you contact us. Again, with several hundred grants that we manage, we appreciate any patience that you will show us in regards to us responding to your requests for information.
Great, thanks. I haven't seen many questions about technical assistance, but I wanted to put this slide back up on the screen that provides the contact information for the National Reentry Resource Center. You should each have a point of contact here who you can reach out to, but you can also feel free to reach us through our toll-free number or our info email address as well. You will all receive an email. Everyone who is registered for today's webinar will receive an email as soon as the recording from today's webinar is available. You'll receive a link to that. You'll also receive a link to the PowerPoint slides from today's webinar, as well as some additional resource materials that will be available on our website after the webinar. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. At this point, unless anyone has anything to add, I would like to thank the Bureau of Justice Assistance for sponsoring today's webinar. I'd also like to especially thank Gary, Dennis, Anya, Brenda, and Michael for helping us put together this information and helping to host today's webinar. And unless there are any other questions, we will close out, and thank you all for participating and joining us today. We look forward to working with you over the course of the life of your grant.